Now let's look at the math. Here is Newton's law of gravity. G is a number. We don't care about that number. It never changes. M1 is the mass of the first body. M2 is the mass of the second body. Remember that gravity is a force between two bodies that have mass. D is the distance between their centers, and we square that, okay? So, how will the force change? It depends upon how the masses change or how the distance between them changes. We already said that if the mass becomes bigger, the force of gravity becomes bigger. If the mass gets smaller, the force of gravity gets smaller. It is a direct relationship. What you do to one side, you do to the other. If one of the masses gets twice as big, the force of gravity becomes twice as big. If one of the masses becomes 5 times larger, the force of gravity becomes 5 times larger. If one of the masses becomes 10 times larger, the force of gravity becomes 10 times larger. If the mass becomes half as large, the force becomes half as large. If the mass becomes 1/7 as large, the force becomes 1/7 as large. Okay? That's the easy part. Distance, it's in the denominator, so it's harder, and it's squared. It's the inverse square law. So it's going to be fractions, and it's going to be squared. So if the distance is twice as great, you have 1 divided by 2 squared, or 1/4. So if the distance doubles, the force becomes 1/4 as great. If they become 3 times farther apart, you have 1/3 squared, or 1/9. The force is 1/9 as great. If they become 4 times farther apart, it is 1/4 squared. That is 1/16. The force becomes 1/16 as great. You can practice with as many numbers as you want till you see the pattern. What if they become closer? If the distance becomes half as great, you have 1/1/2 squared. 1/1/2 squared is 1/1/4. 1/1/4 is 4. If they become twice, if the distance goes down by half, the force of gravity goes up by 4. What if they become 1/3 the distance? Then you would have 1/1/3 squared, or 1/1/9. 1/1/9 is 9. If the distance shrinks to 1/3 its original value, the force increases by a factor of 9. If they become 1/4 their original distance, 1/1/4 squared. 1/1/4 squared is 1/1/16. 1/1/16 is 16. If the distance shrinks to 1/4 of its original value, the force goes up by 16. Again, you can go through as many of these as you want until you see the pattern.